News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Hundreds gather for a pro-immigration rally in Missoula yesterday. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It's Wednesday, March 2nd, 2016. Skies cloudy. We've got 35 degrees in Missoula. Roads right now, we have a combination for you. We have snow-packed and icy roads on Highway 200 from Missoula to Clearwater Junction and on Highway 12 from Lolo Pass to about halfway Lolo. Bare and wet on I-90 west to Superior and on Highway 93 north and south. Bare and wet conditions at this time. Our newscast this morning, sponsored by Dig It Excavating. They bring 30 years of excellence to every job. For your excavation needs, call Glenn at 214-4292. Hundreds of people, young and old, gathered near the X's in downtown Missoula yesterday to prepare for a march down Higgins for a rally at Karas Park. Bill and Becky Peters came in from Ravalli County, specifically to Missoula, to protest the anti-immigration rally that occurred recently in Hamilton, saying the event there was contrived.
County commissioners orchestrated this. They set this up. It was a political move more than anything, and we're just not going to stand for it as much as we can.
And they also were not all from Ravalli County.
No.
So people have got to realize they came from other counties. It was organized.
They talked in lockstep. They booed in lockstep. They heckled in lockstep. It was pretty pathetic, it really was.
Executive Director of Missoula United Way, Susan Hay Patrick, said she supports a civil debate over the immigration issue.
I think it is possible for people of goodwill to discuss and even disagree on important issues about which both sides feel deeply without resorting to hate speech, the demonizing of an entire religion, and other unfortunate behaviors.
Hay Patrick said nothing is accomplished when the argument descends into name-calling.
People feel very strongly about these issues on both sides, and they're good arguments on both sides. But when it devolves into hatred and threats, I just don't want to be a part of that, and it's a small way of, as a personal statement, to try to speak out against that.
The crowd that swelled to several hundred made their way down the sidewalks on both sides of Higgins to Karas Park for a pro-immigration rally. There were some anti-immigration folks there as well, but no conflict. A Montana man has been charged with kidnapping, attempted murder, and aggravated sexual assault in the abduction of a 4-year-old girl who was playing at a park on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation. Fort Peck tribal court officials said John Liba pleaded not guilty and was ordered held without bail during a Tuesday appearance before a judge. Liba was apprehended in Wolf Point after being identified by witnesses to the girl's Friday abduction. The girl was found Sunday at an undisclosed location 6 miles from the abduction site. FBI Special Agent Todd Palmer says federal charges against Liba are anticipated. He said the victim was at a safe location but released no further details. The Associated Press is withholding the girl's name as a possible victim of sexual assault. A string of convenience store robberies last weekend in Missoula have been solved with the arrest of 2 juveniles in Idaho. Sheriff's Department spokesperson Brenda Bassett has details.
We had 2 juvenile suspects that were arrested in Idaho early this morning around 2 a.m. They had just robbed a convenience store in Idaho at knife point, similarly to the ones that had happened over the weekend here in Missoula.
Bassett said once the 2 have been seen by a judge in Idaho, they'll be returned to Missoula.
The investigation from Missoula County, once it's wrapped up, it'll go up to the county attorney's office for charges, and then they'll be extradited back to Montana.
Several convenience stores were robbed at knife point over the weekend here in Missoula. The administrator of the Division of Child and Family Services has announced she's leaving the agency to return to practicing law. Sarah Corbally told the Flathead Beacon Monday she's stepping down in April. The division, part of the Department of Public Health and Human Services, has been under fire by some families and mental health counselors recently over complaints it was not doing enough to protect children, that some children were being removed from homes unnecessarily, and that caseworkers were bullying family members. Governor Steve Bullock created the Protect Montana Kids Commission last September to examine the agency and recommend changes to law and policy. Missoula police have a man in custody who was originally just a suspect for disorderly conduct, but according to Public Information Officer Travis Welsh, things quickly spiraled out of control.
About 6:18 in the evening, officers were called to the 1600 block of Montana for what was reported as a male causing disturbances, accosting people on the street. When officers arrived, they encountered the male. They attempted to talk with him. Instead, he charged at the officers and forced them to engage him physically.
After being forced to wrestle the charging suspect, officers arrested him and charged him with 2 additional crimes.
He was eventually taken into custody. One officer sustained minor injuries as a result, but the individual is identified as Jeremy Todd. He's 39 years old, and at this point he's been arrested for assault on a peace officer, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest.
Eyewitnesses said the man seemed to be acting as if under the influence of drugs. It's possible there will be further charges. He will appear in justice court either today or later this week. Governor Steve Bullock has raised more than $180,000 for his re-election bid during the first 8 weeks of 2016. Bozeman Republican entrepreneur Greg Gianforte wasn't far behind, reporting about $173,000 in contributions. The large amount of money raised so far in the gubernatorial race is just the beginning of what some analysts believe could be one of Montana's most expensive campaigns. That's largely because of the fundraising prowess already being demonstrated by both candidates. Still unknown is what role outside money will play in the campaign. Gianforte has called on Bullock to refuse money from out-of-state political action committees, a challenge the Democratic governor has previously called, quote, disingenuous, end quote. The latest campaign reports cover contributions and spending from January 1st through February 25th. Missoula City Councilor Harlan Wells officially filed a resolution with the City Council yesterday asking for a referendum. The resolution calls for the referendum to be placed on the November 8th ballot for city voters to determine whether or not the city of Missoula should purchase the assets of Mountain Water Company and issue bonds to finance the acquisition. Wells explains the process.
And the first step is to do a resolution which then goes to Committee of the Whole, and if Marilyn Marler sees fit, then it will go to discussion, and if we get enough votes, then it will go to City Council of the Whole to be voted on. The case is pretty straightforward. Let the people of Missoula decide yes or no if they want to continue with this incredibly expensive venture.
Wells believes the city of Missoula is not operating in concert with the opinions of Missoula voters.
I can tell you there is an army of people out there ready to do signatures to get it on the ballot as a referendum by the people. So the city council is so sure that they have public support, you think this would be a no-brainer, and they would just say, okay, let's put it to the referendum. We know we're going to win. But my guess is they're really afraid they don't have the support they think they do.
Even if the referendum does make it onto the ballot and is supported by voters, Wells says he's unsure whether or not the referendum itself would be binding to the council. Our News Talk time now is 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Scattered showers are expected early today. By the afternoon, mostly cloudy with highs in the upper 40s. Winds will remain quite breezy with wind gusts as high as 30 miles per hour. Patchy fog tonight, lows around freezing. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.